back on Patriot League All Access. On with us now is the head men's soccer coach at the United States Military Academy, Russell Payne. Coach, appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time today. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
James, my pleasure.
Entering your second season at West Point, can you tell me, was there any difference in the off-season that you had this year compared to the craziness of last year's off-season as you were heading into your first season as the head men's soccer coach at Army? Can you talk about the differences between the two off-seasons, if there were any differences?
There were some tremendous differences between the two off-seasons, so to speak. First and foremost, as a staff, we felt like we're no longer drinking from a fire hose, so to speak. Just the adjustment from the coaching staff perspective at West Point, coming from our coaching backgrounds at Maryland and from the civilian world, as you would. It's just very different, and learning how to navigate and learning how to maximize your resources here and just get things done. There's a learning curve, and it takes a little while to start to figure it out. I haven't totally figured all of it out yet, but definitely a little more comfortable now with things from that standpoint. Now, from a player standpoint, definitely a lot different because as any coach will tell you, building the culture and getting the culture right takes a lot of time. And anytime you take over a program and you want to transition things the way that will take the team forward, you have to have the right people in place, and it's habit forming. It's positive habits every day, reinforcing those details and the follow through by the players and having the players take more ownership. And that's a day-to-day process. It doesn't happen over 2 weeks or 2 months or even over 2 years. But over the course of the last year, there's definitely been more of an effort on the players' part and more of a desire on their part to change the culture of the program. And that was the biggest noticeable difference this spring to last spring. As far as your question, sorry.
Let's go beyond the record. I'm looking at last year's record from 2010, 3-12-2, 0-5-2 in the Patriot League. Let's dig a little deeper than that, though. What were some of the encouraging things that you saw from your club last year? Some things that you thought they'd be able to build on as you move into this second season at West Point?
Well, I think the most encouraging thing was the way we ended the season. Our last 5 games, going 2-1-2 in those games, showed the growth and progress over the course of the season to where certain things are starting to click for the guys. The style of play, sort of adjusting and falling into that formation, settling into the formation, and just the overall competitiveness and ability to execute started getting better towards the back end of the season. I think that was a springboard into our spring season, which went well as well. But we took away a number of positives. Our goals against average, in league play went way down. Our goals against average overall went way down last year. We were able to score more goals last year than in years previous as well. We were able to get points away from home in the league, which we hadn't achieved in quite some time. I think outside of Navy, over the last few years here at West Point, we haven't really grabbed many points in the league, and grabbing some away points last year was big. Finished in the last game with a shutout in the back, away from home. Against a very good Holy Cross team was a good way to wrap things up for the guys after such a tough season. So, we took a number of positives. A few of the new players got a lot of time and experience, and a number of the returning players, sort of gained some valuable, very, very valuable experience and motivational sort of, I guess, situations and things to take with them into the last 6 months.
Let's look ahead to 2011 as you try to build on, as you said, that strong finish last season. 6 of your first 7 regular season contests are at home at West Point. What was the philosophy that you were trying to employ when you put this non-league schedule together for this upcoming fall?
Well, every coach has got their own sort of methods and take on how they want to integrate and introduce a new group of players and a returning group that has now a better focus to that season and to that mission for that season. I knew going into the season that we were going to have a large number of freshmen. You know, our freshman class is a big class, and you know, we needed to have that for a number of reasons from the team. And you know, from that standpoint, the West Point experience, day-to-day experience, is very taxing on these young men. They're up early for classes. They've got full class days, more so than anybody else in the country, and they take more credits than anybody else in the country, you know, in a semester. And you know, the ability for us to limit the amount of travel we have early on, for them to get used to their surroundings, because obviously we don't even get a chance to see these players, any of the new players or returning players, until this week, because of their packed summer schedules. It just gives us more time on the ground here to settle into to life at West Point, to our system of play, to our surroundings, all the things, all the intangibles and some of the tangibles. We just get more time for that. So that was the premise behind, you know, scheduling a lot of home games early on, and hopefully we can build some momentum. You know, going into each one of those matches, you know, expecting to get a result, expecting to put our best forward, and not having any excuses. You know, everybody wants to get off to a good start, and playing home matches is sometimes the perfect way to sort of put that forward.
When coaches come into a new position at another school and they take over a job, sometimes they'll come in and they'll say, you know, this is a 5-year plan, this is a 3-year plan. Army has not been in contention for a Patriot League title or a Patriot League tournament berth in quite a bit. And it's probably, obviously, that was well known to you when you took the job last year. Did you take the job thinking that there was a 3-year or a 5-year plan? Did you put a time limit on how quickly you wanted the program to be in contention for one of those top 4 spots in the standings to get into the Patriot League tournament and eventually compete for a title?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. You know, because like you said, just about every coach that takes over a program, you know, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, it's going to take me probably the length of time before, probably the length of, you know, my first class getting to their senior year before there's any real significant things happening. And I agree with that for the most part. But you know, I also, you know, coming out of the system that I came out of playing and coaching, it was never ever instilled in me as a player or as a coach, as an assistant coach, that you couldn't affect change immediately. Positive things couldn't happen immediately. You couldn't be the last team standing, so to speak, in your league or in your conference, or what have you, immediately. If you did everything possible, detail oriented, you know, an excellence-driven approach. So, you know, at you know, on a realistic, being realistic and rational about where we are talent-wise, I would say that yes, it's going to take a few years before we have the competitive talent, you know, to have our best opportunity to reach our goals, which is obviously to be the last team standing in the league and to win a national championship. But as far as attitude, mentality, and just our day-to-day sort of graft of what we're doing, you know, my expectation is that we'll have that every year. And if we fall short of that, then obviously we make those changes going into the following year. But you know, I never came into this job thinking to myself, all right, it's going to take me 5 or 10 years to do anything significant here. You know, I'm realistic about our talent level, but you know, at no point in time do I ever let these players feel like that we go into a game not prepared, that we go into a game thinking this is a team that we're probably not going to beat. At no time does that ever creep into any of our coaching philosophies. So I understand what you're saying, and that's probably the best way I can answer that question, and still sort of be realistic about the fact that it does take time when you don't have the talent base initially.
Russell Payne is the head men's soccer coach at Army, entering his second season in 2011. Coach, we appreciate you taking the time again today, and good luck this season. We'll talk to you down the road.
James, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.